I've seen mourners fake sorrow just long enough to close the casket. I've heard eulogies that sounded more like warnings. I've watched shoulders relax the moment the door closed behind them, as if peace had finally been granted permission to enter. I've seen pews fill not out of love, but out of curiosity. Who finally did it, and how long it took. I've heard whispers float like incense through stained glass light. Not prayers, but stories people were afraid to tell while you breathed. I've watched the front row bite their tongues to keep the truth from bleeding into ritual. I've seen hands clasped, not in grief, but in quiet relief that your shadow would no longer darken their door. I've heard the pastor speak of heaven with eyes that refuse to meet the crowd. I've watched the flowers wilt faster than expected, as if they too couldn't bear to offer you beauty. I've seen the ones you broke wear black out of obligation, not mourning. I've heard no one deny what was done, only agree that it's over. I've watched people nod when your name was buried beneath small mercies, not for who you were, but for what you made them. And I've seen the assassin not hide, but sit quietly, almost forgiven just for finishing what you started. So live in a way that the grave doesn't feel like justice. Live so your absence doesn't feel like mercy. So the silence left behind isn't mistaken for healing. Because I've watched too many lowered into the ground with more secrets than sorrow, and more enemies than mourners. Behind the lines. This poem is a stark reminder that how we treat people in the quiet, unspoken moments often writes the story of our downfall long before it arrives. It is about the reckoning that comes not through violence or drama, but through the slow turning of people's hearts away from someone who caused too much harm. I wrote it as a warning for those who live without empathy, who mistake fear for respect, and who assume their downfall will be met with sympathy rather than relief. It speaks to the discomfort that surrounds someone's collapse when the truth of their character finally catches up to them. Not everyone watching feels sorrow. Some feel release, some finally exhale. The moment you fall, people remember everything they were too afraid to say while you were still standing. The silence around you doesn't mourn, it clears space. The poem explores how easy it is to mistake obedience for admiration and tolerance for love. But when someone's power fades, when their influence slips, what's left is not loyalty. What's left is the collective memory of harm. People don't rally to defend a legacy built on cruelty. They step aside. And when that happens, even the person responsible for your downfall can seem almost justified. Not because they were right, but because you made it so easy to stop caring. This is for anyone who thinks they are untouchable, who believes presence equals power. It is a reminder to live in a way that your collapse does not feel like justice. Live so that people do not mistake your absence for healing. Live in a way that if you fall, the ones around you will feel the weight of your loss, not the lightness of being free from you.